live in about 3 minutes. So if you're watching this as a replay, go ahead and fast forward about 3 minutes. Happy Juneteenth! Happy Juneteenth! I have such information for you today. I'm broadcasting on Facebook. I'm broadcasting on YouTube. As always, talk back to me. So today's topic is really important, as every topic, right? I am totally imbued with the spirit, the high spirit, the highest spirits. My God Almighty, yes. Happy Juneteenth. And we are alive. We are so lucky to be here today and to have these tools to be able to communicate in this way. And if you're like me, okay, if you're like me, you have gone through the gauntlet of success on the earth plane, right? The making of the money. Let me say this for those of you who are here for the first time and hearing my voice for the first time, and even those of you who may be here. First of all, please share this video out right now. This is going to be different than what you guys have seen from me thus far. The spirit of the ancestors is with me. The spirit of the Most High is with me. And I ask that you help to spread this message. What I'm sharing here is unique. When I say unique, it's not like, right, this is what I mean. It was given to me, okay? And I actually had sat with a shaman about the end of December 2018. And literally 10 minutes before I went live, something that was said there, and it was confirmation. This meeting with her was such confirmation of what was already within me, which is what this is going to do for those of you who are descendants of ruling high spiritual African lineages. It's going to confirm much of what is already going on inside of you and has gone on inside of you your entire life. So share this out for those who, by the workings of the high spirits, will find their way to your sharing of this video and will find their way here to the source. So I'm in the business of bringing high spiritual melanin leaders who are in the consciousness and transformation space into full power with their sovereignty and into power with money, and bringing ancient knowings, infinite knowings, into modern day workings in order to monetize them by bringing them to the people that they're meant to serve. So I'm in the business of going to the root, going to the core. So working at a core level and working at the most high level. Okay, so it's a collaboration of deep core level, the highest levels. So while it's a joy for many of you to watch, and it is empowering and an infusion of energy to watch, to do the work behind the scenes includes and requires going down deep and coming up high and navigating everything in between so that you become an embodied being. So share this video, share this video, share this video, share this video. So where shall I go? What is with me here now is how confused so many of us are in modern times. Melanin transformational leaders who are enormously powerful, who has information that the Bible does not contain, and you're afraid to say it because you blasphemous thing, you, that your parents and your peers and your pastor and your friends and right will say to you, how dare you speak these things that are not of the Bible, of which we have taught you since you are a child. And so we have been confused. We have been confused by the teachings in our immediate surroundings. We have been confused by the teachings of white supremacy. We have been confused by the speed and the illusion of a lot of the technology that we use today, and the language that is used, and the stories that are told, and the incomplete stories that have been told, and the withheld stories that have not been told, but the spirit of them persists. Just because a story has not been told does not mean the spirit of that story does not persist. What? Just because a story has not been told does not mean the spirit of that story does not persist. It persists in me, it persists in you. For those of you who are descendants, you didn't try, you don't hope, you didn't pray for it. You are a descendant by blood of a ruling high spiritual class that is the creators of the spirit, of the sciences, of the maths, of esoteric knowledge that all great men, many of the ones who are white, who we revere, who have rewritten and come with their own interpretations, and those who are melanin as well. The knowledge, the core knowledge of which all other knowledge is a derivative of. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So the way your blood has spoken to you throughout your lifetime. Hello to you, say hi to me, okay? Although what I share here is of the highest order, I am of flesh and blood as well. And I do appreciate your engagement, your comments, your thank you, your hellos, your telling me where you're listening in from. It has taken quite a while to get here, hasn't it? For you, for me, right? It has taken quite a while to get to your current level of consciousness, hasn't it? And so the question can be, well, if I am a descendant of a ruling class, if I am a descendant of a high spiritual being, why have I suffered the way I do? Why am I confused the way I have been? Why isn't it evident? Why doesn't my outer world reflect the fact that I am a descendant of a ruling high spiritual class? What is going on here? I taught in one of my courses last year that there has been a corruption of the psyche. So let me speak to this first. I have very specific points. I have 4 points to be clear. There are 4 ways that I'm going to share here today to confirm that you are or are not a descendant of a ruling high spiritual African lineage. I have 4 distinct ways, okay? So that is coming, so stick around, okay? Hi, Angel. I am so full and grateful here now to share with you. Thank you, Most High. Thank you to those of you who are here hearing my voice. Thank you to those of you who have chosen and will choose to share this video out right now as you're hearing my voice, or perhaps after you finish watching. The spirit of things, things that existed before you were here, before you were in the body that you are in right now, there are things that occurred And those things, the ending of those things does not mean the ending of the spirit of those things. The creation of material things that are a reflection of high spiritual science. What? Of high spiritual science. The spirit of those things is in the blood of a specific people. They can't help it. It persists. And when it is not expressed, it goes mad. It goes seeking. It goes wondering, asking, looking for something in its outer world to reflect what it knows in its inner world. Hello? Hello? Can anybody relate? Can anybody relate to what it is that I just said? Looking in your external world for these knowings and deep senses that you have in your inner world. Anybody? You know what's so interesting to me? How when I'm live, I'll have, one person, 5 people, right? Right now on YouTube, there's one person. And then I'll end the video, right? And then an hour later, I go back and look, and there's over 100 people who have watched. You don't have to hide. I like that you're here. You don't have to wait until I hang up to then come look at the video. You don't have to stay like out of clicking through and really coming in to letting me know that you're here. This matters. Whether you agree with it or not, and for those of you who it's for, you will agree. This is of a high spiritual order. There are factors influencing this that are way above what our conscious minds would have us create. Oh my God. Most High. What? And the fear that many of us have had. I just got off the phone with a client maybe like 20 minutes before I got here. And she has had fears of speaking certain truths as it relates to higher knowledge that she has that's not in the Bible. That she's afraid to share because she says, my head might get chopped off or I'll be ostracized. High spiritual knowing she has about quantum healing. What? Because as I've said countless times, masters are speed. Masters are speed. So these words that I speak here and now and to come, and even in the past, are to get you to lean in further. You can click the link with this video and come into the community so I know that you want to know further. To speak that centuries of oppression collapse. In this industry that I'm in, that perhaps you're in, of coaching and transformation, we have learned from white leaders, haven't we? And they have much to share, for sure. And it's incomplete. It's incomplete. What I have been sharing and what I will share here today is to reduce the fear that you have, the fear around coming into sovereignty in your blackness, owning your position today as a melanin being, and further, right, because there's lots of melanin beings, even further as a descendant of a high spiritual ruling African lineage. Collapsing centuries of illusion, collapsing centuries of oppression, collapsing centuries. I'm getting chills on my left side. Collapsing centuries of the withholding of information, collapsing centuries of partial truths, partial stories. Yeah. Do you know how lucky we are to be alive? How blessed and chosen we are to be alive today? Today. There are people who died 2 months ago, a year ago, who are not here today. Wasn't meant here to be today. To bring forth the thing that only you can, the thing that only you can say. Are you feeling the enormity of the climate that we're in right now? Are you feeling the pull? Are you feeling the urgency to speak what you know that you don't see anybody else talking about? You see a lot of conversations that are of an oppressive nature about how hard it is to be Black, about the struggles and strife of Blackness, about how we fight and we protest. And there is truth in all of it. Where is the high truth? Where is it? Where is the high truth that is in back of the lower truth? That is in back and is at the root of the lower truth. Where is that? Are you going to say it? Or are you just going to hold it? That's part of why you're scared, terrified, tight in your body at home, because you're withholding. Gushing, 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 gushing. So you already know. For those who are descendants of ruling high spiritual African lineage, you already know. What I'm going to say is going to confirm what you already know. And I'm getting ready to say it. And before I say it, what I'm going to speak more to is the fact that the corruption of the lens through which you currently see. The corruption of the lens through which you currently see. The way you see yourself. The way you walk through the world as yourself now. What you call yourself. What you allow of yourself. What you expect of yourself. Deeply, not consciously. Not in your conscious thoughts. Because I imagine in your conscious thoughts, you see yourself as a reverent being, right? You see yourself as a queen. You see yourself as an important, valuable person who matters, right? And maybe you do have some thoughts about your mistakes and, right, things that are not so benevolent, right? But what is the deeper thoughts that really govern where you invest your time, how you choose, where you invest your energy, your money? That is the deeper self that's running the show. That's the self that I care about. That's the self that I and my team are restoring to sovereignty and healthy relationship with money. Do you understand that we're doing something that's never been done? You are doing something that has never been done. Do you recognize how now is the time to do that? How this purification, the burning of the planet, and so new seeds can be planted, and those seeds will be planted by you? Do you get that? I think you do. And it is going to take striking beacons with clear voice, clear willingness, united to cause the effects that we are looking for of who we be. What? How you think I got here? Baby, it's work. Listen, I mean, because what fight you gonna fight? It's a lot of fights to fight, baby. Which one do you choose? All right, so there are 4 ways to know. I'm so happy and grateful to be alive. My God! And I have said that so many times, but I'm feeling it so astutely and attuned today. I woke up the holiest of high spirits, I'm telling you. So, what are the 4 ways to know that you are a descendant of a ruling high spiritual African lineage? Number 1, you just know. Now, I call it how I call it. How would you call it? How have you been calling it in your secret thinking and your own thoughts? What have you been calling where you are from? What have you been calling who you are? Now, what do I mean by you just know? Here's what I have in my notes. There's an inalienable isness and awareness because it's in your blood. There's an inalienable isness and awareness because it's in your blood. Listen, tell me if you relate to this. If you're watching this as a replay, or if you're here now, I just know I have a lot of replay viewers. Have you been in your own signature meditation way, right? Because we all meditate in different ways. And you were in a deeply, deeply relaxed state. And like a story, an ancient story came through your head that you just knew it was true. You just knew. You never read it in a book, and you've read a lot of books about African history, about the history of America, about science, ancient science and civilization, right? And there was a story that ran through your consciousness, but it was true. You knew it was true. Or, and I'm getting ahead of myself here, but I'm gonna go ahead and go, where there's just ways of being that you just are, that are of royalty. Now that's going into, I have here, number 2 is you felt royal your entire life, even if you were raised in a financially modest or even poor household. There's a way of being about you that behaves and thinks in a royal way, even if your outer world has never reflected that of royalty. This is number 2 of how you know you are a descendant of a ruling high spiritual African lineage. Something is to be said now. Part of the corruption of our current lens, how flawed it is, flawed by white supremacy, flawed by the illusions that evil white men have perpetrated through story and symbolism for centuries, and the way they are so deeply ingrained in our psyche, so deeply ingrained that just the thought of really laying down, opening our legs and allowing a white man to penetrate us can make us shiver. That's how deep it's been in us, this symbolism and evil that has been perpetuated in our psyche, in the world, not just ours, but everybody's, right? And I know I'm not the only Black woman who has felt this, just the shrinking and the withdrawal, just the mere thought of being sexually intimate with a white man, right? Because of the history and the told and untold stories of rape against our ancestors in this country, right? So the way that kind of experience has been transferred through told and untold stories, and that sits in our psyche, right? And all the oppressive stories that have been told, right? That shape the lens through which you look, right? That shape the lens through how you see yourself. Remember, deeply how you see yourself. And you know how you see yourself, that I feel that tangent coming on, by how you relate to everything, how you relate and engage with conversations with other people. When you're on the line and you get confronted in a way that is not obviously confronting, but you notice it after it happens and how you showed up in that, and then you reverse engineer it and look at how you showed up and you're like, oh wow, so that's how I am, right? Because your unconscious came into play because you were confronted unexpectedly, right? And you're like, whoa, so that's how I am, right? That self is the self that I'm talking about, that deeper self. That's where your power is, right there. Shifting that at a core level so that your first nature way of being, where you don't even have to think about it, is sovereign. That's where we're going here. That's why this matters, okay? Share this video. Please share this video. Share this video. So you may have been raised in a modest home, right? But you have always, and here I go, going ahead to the next one. Number 4, you've always had instincts to rule, serve, and be rich. Like you just always felt like you were meant to be rich, or that like my bank account may not reflect it, but I'm rich, right? There's just been this deep sense that you are rich. You think it's just like, well, I know I sense that, but that don't mean nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a feel. It's just a sense, and I don't mean a feeling like feel. I mean a sense that's connect. Because senses are connected to knowing. They're like a cousin of a knowing. What you must understand here. So, for example, for those of you who have had a sense about something, there was no evidence of it, but you had a sense about something, and then some future time you ended up reading an actual story that confirmed what you knew. It's the same thing here. There was a series on Netflix, and I say was because it was there, and then I started promoting it, and then I went to go look for it again, and I couldn't find it, so I stopped promoting it. And it was, I can't even remember the name of it, but it was about the history of women throughout centuries, like ancient civilizations, the influence that women have had, the struggles of women, all women, okay, around the world. And it was a 4-part Netflix series. And I really wish it was up. It was so good. But I remember she told stories. And in those telling those stories, she talked about partial stories, rewritten stories, untold stories about women's influence and struggle and success and fight throughout the centuries. And she told the story about a specific Asian woman. And her name, I don't remember, but it was like one of those Chin Yu Chi names. So my apologies for not remembering that. And she talked about the sovereignty of this woman in her time. And this woman was around before America even existed. That's how old the story was. And she talked about the way she fought for women, the way she fought for the upliftment of all people, and especially women. And she fought for for women to be in, I'm using the word sovereign, but that's not the word that they use, but for women to be in sovereign roles and to restore the oppression that the men in her country have been, pushing at the time. Okay. And she was eventually killed. And then, so there, in her culture at the time, there was a way that every person of influence, when they died, they would have an erected stone over there, wherever they were buried. There'd be an erected like memorial stone. And there was this place where there was all these erections. There was no erection for her, and her name, there was such effort to make sure her name was never mentioned because she made great progress for her time. And there was a way that the men of those times made sure that her name was never in anything that spoke to the improvements, the advancements that were made in her country at that time. Now, remember what I said earlier, just because a thing has ended, it doesn't mean the spirit of that thing has ended. Just because the thing has ended does not mean the spirit of that thing has ended. So therefore, the bringing forth of high spiritual sciences and maths of the Egyptians, right? And then for those of you who study Hermetics and the all, of which all other spiritual teachings and understandings and knowledge come from, right? These is the highest spiritual sciences. This is the highest awareness, highest intelligence, from which every other law stems from. All the laws that we currently think are the king of laws, the law of polarity, the law of cause and effect, the law of gender, and they all matter, but they're not the highest laws, right? Now I'm going to say that for another time, and I talked a bit about that, I think, on Monday, so you can go back on this page and go look at what I shared on Monday. But the spirit, right, even the spirit of that, right, with melanin folks being the originators of high spiritual science, math, and laws, and that everything that gushes from that governs who we are now, first of all, is the descendant, descendant of the all, right? And because it's 2020 and we're so disconnected, and we have white supremacy to thank for disconnecting us from highest spiritual intelligence. Thank you so much, white supremacy, for that, right? Let's tell it what it is. Let's tell it for what it is. Evil white men who instituted illusions, had meetings. You need to understand, you know this, and I'm saying it to be said, okay? To really paint the structure of things. And we have believed the lies that they had meetings around and said, this is the stories that we're going to tell, and we're going to tell them over and over and over again. We're going to recreate a Bible to teach them that this is the way. The language that they spoke is non-existent now. We will give them names. This is how they act and behave, and this is who they are from now on, and we will make it so. And we will put it in formal text, call it Bible. Now, I'm not going to get into an argument with you about the different Bibles that have been created, all right? Go do your own research, okay? And so here we are today, ta-ta-da-da, with this corrupted lens, unable to fully see ourselves. What? But just because the spirit of a thing has ended does not mean the spirit has ended. I mean, just because a thing has ended doesn't mean the spirit of that thing has ended. That's why I can be here today. The spirit of the thing doesn't die. Your blood speaks. All right? So the effort that they took to make sure this woman's name was never placed on anything. The effort that they took to make sure her story and all the stories associated with her were never told, so that the Asian women of that country who were to be born would never see the kind of power that somebody like them perpetuated in the land. And two, for those of you who are descendants of a high ruling class, we too are disconnected from the stories whose spirit is still alive. And so when you have been in your deep meditative state and you had a sense, you had a feeling that you belonged to something that was so revered and sovereign, and it threw you so hard, and because you in 2020, or maybe you had it in 2018 or in 2010, and you like, but wait a minute, this life that I'm living don't look nothing like the flash the story that just went ahead in my head. Darling, it's just the corruption. It's just the corruption. It's just being raised in an oppressive white supremacist culture where illusion is the name of the game. Where you never seen yourself as the reverent being that you are a descendant of. You never seen yourself as that. If you're watching this as a replay, Let me know if you baby. Most people watching me, I call it spiritual masturbation. They feel empowered when they watch me. And that's fine. But for those of you who are what I'm talking about, I got one more to share. But it's when you don't have money and you're a descendant of a ruling high spiritual class, but you don't have money, it's such cognitive dissonance, isn't it? To be a descendant of royalty and to be just paying the bills. The human brain is going to shut you down. But it doesn't mean the spirit of the thing dies. And your job, that's why I'm here. That's why I exist. Your job then is to clean your lens. Clean your lens. You're going to get punched around a little bit. You are. To get to the place of 6 figures, multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, specifically in the vein of spirituality and consciousness. Doing the work you're really here to do. You're going to get punched around. But see, that's why you get into the community. That's why you click the link with this video and let me know that you want to come in close. I'm modifying prices, by the way. Here is a way that your lens has been corrupted. Oh, yes. 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 I'm unable to do this alone. Please share this video. I'm unable to do this alone. If you see yourself being a part of spreading this message, please DM me wherever you're seeing this video. Message me wherever you're seeing this video. Or send me an email, naima@naimasingletary.com. Here is how your lens has been dirty. I have one more. Of the 4 that I'm sharing today, I have one more to share, so stick around. In this by the way, I like capitalism, minus the white supremacy part, minus the oppressive part. I like free market. And I'm also governed by higher laws that has regard for all. And this white supremacist capitalistic structure, to have a ruling class sounds like a bunch of people have something, a few people have something, and most everybody else ain't got nothing. That's because you're looking through the lens of white, oppressive, capitalistic society. Do you know that in African society, they had systems in place to support the poor? Reverent, highly dignified systems in place to support the poor. Did you know that? And these high ruling, high spiritual African classes, there were reverent, loving systems in place to support the poor. The poor weren't looked at as these rejected, marginalized folks of society. That's where your lens is dirty. That's where your lens is dirty. Where else is your lens dirty? That's getting in the way of you coming into the sovereignty that you are a descendant of. That's getting in the way of you getting on camera, you entering your email with the link with this video, leaning in, saying, Naima, I'm ready to be a part of this community, of spreading this message, of making plenty of money and having it in a way where others start to make plenty of money as well. Because the line that you're from, that's how we roll. That's how we roll. I'm telling you, evil white men have done a doozy on the psyche on all of us, including me. And it has taken so many fights, so many deep, deep prayers, not just prayer, deep prayer, deep, radical, lights off, candles on, down on the knees, laid back on the floor, head to the ground, listening, quiet, all of it, stretching, getting out in the sun, deep, consistently submitting oneself, consistently submitting oneself to get down, to purify, clean my lens, ask the question, say the thing that I'm scared to say, but is begging to be spoken, get it out, and being able to come here in this purified way. That's what it's taken for me to get here. What is it taking for you to get here? And what is it going to take for you to get to the place where you come out into the marketplace and command money from a sovereign position? Lead your tribe from a sovereign position where there's not just a few of us making money, but all of us are making money. Where there are systems in place to support those of us who don't have this knowledge, who don't know how to interpret this knowledge, who have been so corrupt by a Bible that is withholding information, withholding high spiritual knowledge. But if you go and speak to them, they will be able to receive the message and then rise of their own volition. Share this video into your email with this video. I'm on here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the month of June at 12, but it's not going to be this way, right? Anyway, we got a whole system and strategy that's being put into place. Where we are working with those who are ready to move. When you enter your email, I know you're one of the people who's ready to move. And that's one level, and then there are other levels that you can say yes or no to, depending on your readiness levels. Any questions or comments? Any questions or comments? We're getting ready to go to number 4. You've always sensed you were above, I don't think I said this, you've always sensed you were above the dominant feelings and thoughts about Black people. Whoa, what a name. Hi there. Where are you from? How do I say that? Please type that phonetically for me. By the way, I have been getting a lot of interest from Africa in my inbox on Facebook. Subscribing, like people who have been clicking, sending me their email. And liking the Facebook business page from Africa. Listen, just because the thing has ended doesn't mean the spirit of that thing is ended. Although Africa has been raped and continues to be raped, the spirit persists. You cannot kill the spirit of a thing. It's impossible, literally. If the spirit that runs through my blood, that runs through your blood, could be stolen and taken, it would have been stolen and taken by now. So Africa is being called. When I speak, there's a lifting, an invisible spiritual lifting that occurs when I speak. Even if I don't immediately see it, I sense it, I know it. And I'm from South Africa. Hello. And the same happens with you. When you have the audacity, to speak what you know. So you've always sensed you are above the dominant feelings and thoughts about Black people, right? You know what they are. All the downtrodden, low ways that white men created to fuck with our psyches. You dirty, you're lazy, you're not smart, you're untrustworthy, all of that. You're not pretty, right? How much of that is down in your deeper self and shows itself when it's time for you to connect with men? When it's time for you to set standards and boundaries, how much of that is deep down in the corruption of your psyche? You understand what I'm saying? That lens, that identity, is what we are correcting when you come into the family. Remember, the 4 chief areas that we're looking at is high right language, high right thought, high right language, high right thought, high right way of being, and high right way of taking action. So that's high, that all under that, in those 4 pillars, there's high spirituality, there's identity, and there's money. High spirituality, identity, and money. Remember, my focus, although there will be others who will benefit, my focus is those melanin transformational leaders and Black masters who work in the realm of consciousness and spirituality. Transforming things by way of consciousness and spirituality. Transforming things by way of consciousness and spirituality. Number 4, you've always sensed you were above the narratives about who Black people are. You have deep knowings that you are of a superior nature. Nature. I got chills saying that. Who else felt that? Who else really feels that? Even though it says one person is watching right now, I know there's more than one person watching. Hi to those of you who are not coming in. I'm guilty of that too. Who felt that? You've always sensed you were above the narratives about who Black people are. The dominant ones that people constantly talk about that are like, this is how Black people are. That's just how they are, right? And it's like, it can be, it is for some. When you're a descendant of a ruling class, typically what's dominant doesn't apply to you. What's a dominant narrative around who Black people are typically doesn't apply to you. And you have deep knowings. You have deep knowings that you are of something of a superior nature. Not better than. See, the ego and white supremacy has created so much hierarchy and division that our mind immediately jumps to better than. I'm not better than. That's modern white consciousness. Evil, divisive, white consciousness. That's what that is. As soon as I say superior, because of racism and white, even supremacy. As soon as I say superior, your mind goes, right? Perhaps, or maybe not. Maybe you're like, abso-fucking-lutely. Right? But it just is, right? A person can argue you to death, right? Well, it's in my blood, darling. It is so. So how do you live? So this feels like something to talk about in a future video. How does one who's a descendant of a ruling high spiritual African lineage, how does one prosper today? Black masters, wow. How does one prosper today? If you're watching this as a replay and you wish for me to go into how you prosper today, let me know in the comments. Let me go back to YouTube real quick. How do you prosper today? Or because isn't that right? It's like, okay, I'm a descendant. I have all this natural intelligence inside of me, material that doesn't exist in books or, you know, and I'm meant to serve, I'm meant to rule, I'm meant to be rich. So, how exactly does that work in this American system? Oh my God. It takes so much power that you have naturally. Naturally. It merely requires, I don't want to say merely, like in the event that that sounds dismissive, I mean, it requires cultivation, strengthening, nurturing, and a respect for your own power. That's another way our lens is so flawed and dirty. There's so little respect for this supreme power, this, this undiable, unresistible, irresistible power. That power that so many white people keep clawing at, and they can never have it, right? They are not of it. And the way they say, you want all the rhythm, but not the blues. It's that little thing that makes learning how to respect that fine thing that distinguishes you as the descendant, that fine, that seemingly insignificant thing that makes all the difference. I'm going to say this and I think I'm going to wrap up. Please share this video. Please share this video. There's a point that I'd like to make here about the significance of respecting. Dear descendant, dear descendant. So it could be Miles Davis. It's one of our Black musical icons. I think it was Miles Davis. And for those of you who know Miles Davis, you know he is famous. And he used to travel around the world and play with other musicians who were playing other instruments, right? And he played with a lot of white musicians. He played with all kinds of races and ethnicities. And he was being interviewed. And he was being asked about what it's like to play with, so many different genres and styles of music and this kind of a thing. And this interviewer, who was Black, asked him about playing with the subtleties that that interviewer notices when he's playing with white players, right? Now, see, this is to demonstrate that subtle thing, Miles Davis, your late father's favorite. I bet. That subtle thing that is so important for you to learn how to respect, that distinguishes you, not separation in the way white oppressive people like to teach, but the thing that allows you to have access to a kind of power and intelligence, the power and intelligence that you are going to use to serve others, the power and intelligence through which your wealth comes in. That fineness is you learning to respect that fineness. See, and when you lean in closer and you work with us, because we have respect for this fineness, you will then start to practice having your own respect for your fineness. So this interviewer was asking Miles Davis about the subtleties of playing with the different subtleties in playing with white musicians that we probably wouldn't hear because we're just hearing good music. We're just listening. And Miles Davis said, it's just he said, to most people listening, you don't hear. And he said to the interviewer, oh, okay, you got that ear. Like you can hear, you got that ear, right? He said, they're really good, man. They're really good. He said, but they're just a little bit, just that little bit they be off. A little bit that makes all the difference. Now, to the average onlooker, it's no big deal. The music is great, right? Looking at Black people, oh, they're like us. We're all one. It's all the same. And then they're also looking through a corrupt white lens of separation. Don't try to separate us. This is divisive. What are you trying to say? Because they're looking through the lens that white, oppressive, evil men have told them to look through. That, only a few and the rest of you poor people and poor people should be ashamed. You're unworthy. If your skin is of color, you're dead. All that. In the world of high African spirituality, everybody is important. As I said, there are systems, reverent, dignified systems in place to support the poor. And learning how to respect the subtleness. So it's subtle to other people who don't have the eyes to see or the ears to hear, but in amongst descendants of the high spiritual class and also in relationship with the all, it is supreme. The more you respect it, the more you get the power to even be able to do your work in the world. The more you respect it, the more right money you make. The more you respect it, the less fear you have. The more you respect it, the more you attract other people who operate from that level of respect. The men in your life, the way your children behave, the people who show up in your world, what you allow and don't allow. Now that's kind of high and up there. But let me know if you're watching this as a replay. If it is of high interest to you for me to have a video, because remember, I'm going to be here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 p.m. Pacific for the rest of June. If it is of high interest to you for me to go into how does a person who is a descendant, maybe that's you, right? Who is a descendant of a ruling high spiritual African lineage, ancient, the beginning of man. You are a descendant of this. And here you are plopped in technology-ass, modern technology, right? Because high spiritual science is its own technology. But here you are plopped in 2020, where they got American twerking, because African twerking is not looked at as a lowly, disrespectful thing. That's a whole other conversation. But you got amongst the whole bloodline, you also have our recent ancestors who were enslaved. So you're dealing with that on a blood level, DNA level, right? You're dealing in a culture that has instituted laws and enacted behaviors that says Black lives don't matter. How do you take reverent, highly dignified, highly respected, highest spiritual science, law, speaking, thinking ways of being and bring it down into this dumbed down way that evil white men have created here in this country? How do you do that? How do you take something that's of the highest benevolence, the highest spiritual intelligence, the highest love that we all, on some level desire, and bring it down here into this heathen land of white supremacy and evil that white men have perpetuated in this country, where the blood of an African people has been shed for centuries, where untold stories where the spirit exists still roam this land, where burial plots and bodies lay because of the evil of white men and lynchings. How do you bring high spiritual love and intelligence down to this planet? in this country. If you care for me to speak about that in the video, let me know in the comments. How on this green earth does one do that? Huh? And thrive. I mean, what else you gonna do? I've been here an hour. And I'm so alive, I could keep going and going and going and going. Oh, I told you guys on Wednesday that I had a hair appointment yesterday. And I got my dates mixed up. My hair appointment is today, and actually it was Wednesday. 2 o'clock, I was sitting here working. My hairstylist texted me, "Where are you?" Immediately, I was like, oh my God, my appointment must have been today. And I called her. She said, "Girl, your appointment was at 2 o'clock today. I'm here waiting for you." So my hair appointment was actually on Wednesday, but I thought it was on Thursday, which was yesterday. And so we rescheduled it for today. So today, my hair appointment is happening. Yes. So I look forward to becoming new on Monday. So YouTube, what's up? Why are you guys so quiet? Huh? Why are you guys so quiet? Mashika said, "Girl, you are bringing the spirit of Fannie Lou Hamer." Am I? Is that what you're feeling? You see that? Hey, DB, you see that? Just because a thing has ended does not mean the spirit of that thing has ended. And when I sat with this shaman at the end of 2018, she confirmed what I already knew. That this ancient knowing, this ancient high intelligence, is meant to be brought into modern times. And that my riches, my next level of riches, is to come through that way. And for those of you who are descendants of a high ruling, high spiritually intelligent class, that is the way your riches and lasting riches will come in a way where everybody in your, the word harem is coming to mind, everybody under your rule. And remember, this is not white man evil rule, meaning all those who you are meant to serve. Ruling is a form of service. All who you are meant to serve prospers. Those who are the lowest among you, there are dignified systems in place to serve and lift those people. This is the level of rulership from which we come from. What? Clean your lens. Watch all the videos I've done over the last 3 weeks. Clean your lens. 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 So let me know in the comments. I'm getting ready to go. Let me know in the comments if you would like for me to talk about what it takes for you to take this high spiritual, ancient knowledge and intelligence as a descendant of a ruling high spiritual class and bring it down into your business as a melanin transformational leader, coach, healer, teacher, or black master. And how do you bring that down here into 2020 and beyond? Anybody else have anything you want to say before I go? Otherwise, I'm finished. Fannie Lou Hamer. Amen. Have a great weekend. Happy Juneteenth. Take good care of yourself. If you're in a state, in a city where there's sun out, walk around, get some sun. I see you, Mashika.